I love what I do. I'm happy to play here, and that hunger won't subside. It'll be maintained because I just love playing.
There is a strange kind of electricity that grips a franchise when whispers become loud enough to echo through hallways, across social media, and eventually into the ears of passionate fans who live and breathe every pitch of their favorite team. In St. Louis, a city that worships baseball with the kind of devotion reserved for legacy, heritage, and identity, that electricity has now turned into a storm. There is tension, confusion, disbelief, and above all else, fear. Not fear of losing another game or another season to mediocrity, but fear that the heart of their baseball soul could be ripped out in the form of a blockbuster trade that nobody ever thought would become reality. Nolan Arenado, the face of defensive brilliance, the powerful bat, the leader in the clubhouse, the pride of the infield, is suddenly no longer being spoken about as the foundation. Instead, he is being discussed as a bargaining chip. But the situation becomes far more complex when you learn that this isn't just about baseball strategy. It is about ego, control, vision, and a war between two powerful figures inside the Cardinals universe, Chaim and Oliver Marmol. The shocking tension began quietly. Nobody outside the organization noticed anything unusual when analysts began floating random hypothetical trade scenarios. At first, it felt like casual off-season chatter. The idea of Nolan Arenado moving to the Los Angeles Angels was treated like one of those wild off-season rumors that seemed too ridiculous to entertain. But somewhere between speculation and silence, discussions began to form. Ideas became phone calls, and what began as distant murmurs slowly took shape into real negotiations. Chaim brought into the Cardinals structure to reshape and rebuild a franchise that has been drifting in recent years, is pushing the idea that sometimes, to build a future, a team must be willing to sacrifice a painful piece of its present. To him, Arenado represents value, leverage, and the possibility of acquiring younger assets who could change the team's long-term outlook. But Oliver Marmol does not see a calculation. He sees a living presence, a leader, a competitor, someone who defines what Cardinals baseball is supposed to be. What makes this even more explosive is how openly divided the organization has become behind closed doors. Bloom represents modern baseball. Cold, statistical, forward-thinking, and business-minded. Marmol represents the emotional heartbeat, the chemistry, the locker room soul, the pride of wearing the Cardinals uniform. When the concept of sending Arenado to the Angels started turning real, Marmol did not just oppose it. He fought it passionately. Reports suggest arguments have erupted in meetings, voices raised, hands slammed on tables, and frustration spilling beyond professionalism. Marmol feels as if Bloom is treating Arenado like a disposable asset, ignoring the deeper impact losing him would create on and off the field. Bloom, in response, views Marmol as sentimental and outdated, accusing him of allowing emotion to cloud decisions that should shape the future. Meanwhile, the Angels' involvement adds an entirely different emotional layer. A franchise that has constantly struggled to find identity beyond Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. The thought of Arenado joining their lineup sends shockwaves across Major League Baseball. For them, this is more than a trade. It is a statement that they refuse to remain forgotten. They want star power, leadership, defensive excellence, and credibility. Arenado brings all of that and more. So every time discussions heat up in St. Louis, they intensify in Anaheim as well. Executives are lining up scenarios, fan discussions explode online, and players begin to wonder what their future roster may look like. The emotional collapse unfolding in St. Louis, however, cannot be ignored. The Cardinals fan base is intelligent, deeply loyal, and not afraid to express its outrage. The moment trade rumor discussions gain traction, panic spread everywhere. Arenado is not merely a player. They see him as a symbol of commitment. He chose St. Louis as his destiny, embraced the city, committed his heart and talent, and now people worry that decision will be dishonored by a cold financial maneuver. Fans feel betrayed even at the idea. They feel as though the front office is losing touch with what baseball represents to the city. Season ticket holders whisper about reconsidering renewals. Analysts question the credibility of team leadership. The media reports every shadow of development with intensity, amplifying the drama every single day. Inside the clubhouse, the tension is even more personal. Teammates are reportedly stunned. Some younger players feel terrified of the uncertainty. Veterans feel disrespected at the thought of watching a leader be pushed out. Not because he declined, but because someone in the office believes numbers outweigh legacy. Arenado himself is said to be aware of the discussions, and the emotional toll cannot be overstated. Here is a man who left Colorado chasing relevance, chasing meaningful baseball, chasing October. He embraced St. Louis, believing it was a stable, proud, structured baseball empire. Now he wakes up each day not fully knowing if loyalty is still reciprocal. Oliver Marmol stands almost like a protective shield in this unfolding chaos. Every fiber in his being refuses to entertain the idea of losing Arenado. He has coached him, trusted him, depended on him. To Marmol, Arenado is not only a third baseman, he is part of the psychological engine that keeps the Cardinals fighting. Marmol believes ripping him out would not create a fresh start, but a vacuum, a leadership disaster, a cultural collapse, and a destabilized team that could take years to emotionally recover. His battle with Bloom has therefore turned deeply personal. It is no longer about baseball strategy. It is about defending the spirit of the team. Bloom, however, feels misunderstood. He looks at spreadsheets, projections, future payroll commitments, roster aging, and the competitive windows of the National League. From his perspective, Arenado remains valuable, but that value is shrinking each year. He fears holding on too long. He argues that sometimes franchises must endure temporary pain to build a future dynasty. While fans see betrayal, Bloom sees necessity. While Marmol sees heartbreak, Bloom sees responsibility. This philosophical war is tearing the organization into emotional chaos. As negotiations linger, the Angels wait with calculated patience. They understand the value of timing. They know pressure is building internally in St. Louis. They know division weakens negotiation posture. They know public backlash could force decisions one way or another. Angels executives are relentless, quietly confident that they might pull off one of the most stunning trades in modern baseball memory. If they succeed, they will secure a superstar, energize their fan base, reshape their lineup, and potentially steal the emotional heartbeat of a rival franchise. Meanwhile, MLB analysts watch with fascination. Every sports talk show debates the logic. Some experts side with Bloom, insisting the Cardinals must stop living in the past and think progressively. Others side with Marmol, arguing that baseball is more than assets and contracts. It is emotion, identity, and human connection. The debate stretches beyond baseball into deeper questions of leadership, loyalty, and modern sports culture. The city of St. Louis finds itself standing emotionally at a cliff. If Arenado remains, scars will remain, as fans remember how close they came to losing him and how deeply fractured leadership appears. If he leaves, the heartbreak may linger for generations. Children who wear Arenado jerseys might feel abandoned. Adults who defend the franchise's loyalty reputation may feel foolish. And for Arenado himself, such a move changes legacy direction forever. The longer this drags out, the more explosive it becomes. Every passing day adds pressure. Every leak magnifies distrust. Every rumor amplifies fear. Bloom continues pushing the future. Marmol continues defending the present. And somewhere in the center stands Nolan Arenado, silently holding the emotional weight of an entire city on his shoulders, while another franchise across the country opens its arms, waiting to offer him a new beginning. No matter how this saga ends, St. Louis will never forget it. If Arenado stays, this becomes a legend of loyalty and survival. If he leaves, it becomes a tragic chapter that reshapes franchise history. One thing is certain. This isn't merely a trade conversation. It is a war for identity, power, pride, and the soul of a baseball city. And until the final decision drops, the storm only grows louder, more emotional, and more unforgettable, leaving everyone watching, waiting, and wondering whether the Cardinals are about to redefine their future or lose the very heart that makes them who they are.